isn't fair, and most people break under the pressure. I'm going to teach you how to stay unshakable and ahead of everyone else. Chapter 1. Rebuilding from zero. Most people want to start over, but almost none understand what that truly means. They think a reset is changing scenery, cutting people off, or deleting apps. But real rebuilding starts in silence when you confront the person you've become. You can't rebuild your mind if you keep carrying the old version of yourself forward. The mental reset begins with brutal honesty about where you stand. You have to face the truth that your habits, emotions, and mindset are outdated. Every reaction you have today is a result of the environment that shaped you. To rebuild, you must first remove the influence of that environment. Think of it like clearing corrupted files before installing a new system. The first step is mental decluttering, reducing noise, distractions, and opinions. That means stepping away from constant stimulation. When you're always consuming, you can't reprogram your thinking. The modern world rewards distraction because it weakens focus. Rebuilding from zero means disconnecting long enough to hear your own thoughts. You can't fix your mind in chaos. You need stillness to reconstruct it. That stillness feels uncomfortable at first because you've been conditioned to avoid silence. But silence is where self-awareness begins to take form. When you sit in silence, your mind starts replaying every choice and failure. Don't resist that. Analyze it. Observe it. The goal isn't to hate the past version of you, but to study it like data. Every mistake holds information about your weaknesses. Every emotion reveals what you haven't mastered. That's how you begin the reset. Through awareness, not denial. Once awareness develops, detachment follows. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You start seeing everything as it is, not how you wish it were. That's the mindset Ayanokoji embodies. Pure observation before reaction. You need that neutrality to rebuild correctly. Because when you rebuild emotionally, you often rebuild the same weakness. The mental reset is about rebuilding logically, not emotionally. Strip away identity. Forget who people said you were. Forget the labels you've adopted. Forget your past achievements and failures. They all create bias, and bias clouds perception. You can't see truth when ego interferes. Ego makes you defend old patterns instead of replacing them. You have to dissolve that ego layer by layer. It's uncomfortable, but necessary. That's what the white room symbolizes. The absence of all external identity. A blank space where only discipline, awareness, and logic exist. In the modern world, that room exists within your mind. You build it through stillness, focus, and deliberate detachment. You stop reacting to noise. You stop chasing validation. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't matter. The fewer people who know your process, the stronger your foundation becomes. Because attention dilutes growth. Growth needs darkness, privacy, like roots growing underground. Every time you chase validation, you delay evolution. So you need to disappear temporarily, not physically, but mentally. Reduce your inputs to only what strengthens you. That includes what you read, watch, and listen to. The reset isn't about escaping life, it's about filtering it. You control the flow of information entering your mind. That's how you regain clarity. Clarity is impossible without control. Most people fail because they rebuild without removing what broke them. They stack new habits on top of emotional instability. You must first stabilize your inner foundation. That means identifying your triggers. What makes you react impulsively? What distracts you the fastest? What situations break your composure? You need to document those patterns. Write them down. Observe them like an outsider. You're no longer the person living through them. You're the scientist studying them. That's the mindset of psychological reconstruction. Every reaction is a clue about your programming. Once you see it clearly, you can rewrite it. That's the purpose of rebuilding from zero, to rewrite the code. Every human mind runs on patterns, and most are outdated by adulthood. To evolve, you have to uninstall the patterns that no longer serve you. This process feels like losing yourself because, in a way, you are. You're killing the version of you that can't survive in the next level of life. But death is required for rebirth. The reset is a psychological death, not of your body, but of your outdated identity. You can't rebuild until you accept that your old self must go. You'll resist it because comfort hates transformation. That's why most people never reset. They patch, not rebuild. Patching means you fix what's visible while leaving the rot underneath. Rebuilding means you strip everything down, even the parts that worked. It's the harder path, but it's the only one that produces strength. The goal isn't to become someone new, it's to become someone real. The fake layers must go. You'll notice the mind tries to fill silence with excuses. Ignore them. Excuses are the defense mechanism of the old identity. When silence exposes weakness, your mind tries to distract you from it. Stay present, stay uncomfortable. That's how you build mental endurance. Endurance is the currency of growth. Without it, you'll fold under the pressure of transformation. The first phase of the reset is observing. The second is enduring. The third is rewriting. Observe the old pattern. Endure its discomfort. Rewrite the response. That's mental engineering at its core. Once you master this loop, you can control your emotional code. That's what separates the calm from the chaotic. The calm are not emotionless. They're engineered. Every emotion passes through logic before action. You can train this skill with deliberate slowness. Practice responding 2 seconds slower than normal. Those 2 seconds build control. Over time, your reactions become intentional, not impulsive. That's how mental discipline grows. Through micro pauses. You're not trying to suppress emotion. You're trying to manage it. Suppression causes breakdown. Management builds composure. This is why the reset must happen alone. You can't rebuild while surrounded by noise. People project their instability onto you. They'll call your silence strange. They'll call your detachment arrogance. But silence is your sanctuary, not their validation. You'll realize solitude isn't loneliness. It's purification. Solitude filters the unnecessary from the essential. You'll see how many things were distractions disguised as connections. The more you detach, the sharper your focus becomes. The sharper your focus, the faster your reconstruction. Clarity and power are built in isolation, not in crowds. The crowd confuses you with comparison. Solitude centers you with direction. You're not behind. You're rebuilding. Don't measure progress in visibility. Measure it in control. Control over emotions. Control over attention. Control over time. That's the true reset. Once you master control, you begin choosing your reactions consciously. That's when you stop being reactive and start being strategic. Strategy requires emotional neutrality. You can't strategize if you're triggered. You can't plan if you're overwhelmed. So you detach before you decide. This habit separates the disciplined from the impulsive. When things go wrong, most people panic. You observe, you breathe, you calculate. That's the white room mindset in action. It's not emotionless. It's efficient. Efficiency means every move serves a purpose. You don't speak to prove, you speak to position. You don't move to react, you move to realign. This detachment gives you power in chaos. When others crack, you stay composed because your mind was trained in silence. You don't seek calmness, you become it. Calmness becomes your default operating mode. It's not a personality trait, it's a result of psychological conditioning. Every mental reset strengthens that conditioning. You're building emotional muscle. Emotional strength isn't about never breaking. It's about breaking quietly, then rebuilding stronger. You'll break often in this process. That's normal. Every breakdown reveals what still needs rewiring. You'll feel detached from the world sometimes. That's progress, not isolation. You're detaching from illusion to reconnect with clarity. You'll lose interest in meaningless conversations. You'll find small talk exhausting. That's because your mind now seeks substance, not noise. The old version of you needed entertainment to cope. The new version seeks purpose to grow. You'll start valuing energy management more than time management. You'll realize that control begins with what you give your attention to. Every focused choice is a vote for the person you're becoming. When you focus on chaos, you internalize it. When you focus on control, you embody it. The reset is about upgrading focus allocation. Energy flows where attention goes. Most people waste it reacting to things they can't control. You'll start mastering the art of conserving energy. No unnecessary opinions, no emotional investments in nonsense. You save energy for what builds you. This conservation creates internal stillness. Stillness creates insight. Insight creates precision. Precision creates dominance. That's how calmness becomes tactical. You're not just calm, you're strategically composed. You move only when it matters. You act with quiet authority. You speak with deliberate weight. People start to notice your shift. You'll seem different, more centered, more unreadable. That's because your mind no longer leaks emotion. You've sealed the mental gaps where chaos used to enter. That's what makes you dangerous in silence. Calmness becomes your armor. Detachment becomes your weapon. Awareness becomes your map. The reset has turned you from reactive to responsive. You're now playing the long game mentally. You understand that short-term discomfort builds long-term control. You stop chasing dopamine and start chasing depth. Every reset period builds a new layer of mental resilience. Resilience becomes instinct. Instinct becomes identity. The new you doesn't need constant motivation. You operate from structure, not mood. That's how Ayanokoji would do it. Quiet, calculated, consistent. He rebuilds through observation and discipline, not emotion. You apply the same logic. Every environment is data. Every setback is feedback. Every silence is strategy. You're not reacting to life, you're analyzing it. That's what separates you from the crowd. The crowd seeks escape. You seek understanding. They numb pain. You study it. They fear stillness. You train in it. They crave attention. You master solitude. That's the essence of rebuilding from zero. Every reset makes you more independent from external validation. You stop relying on approval. Approval is currency for the insecure. You start relying on evidence. Results, progress, control. That's how confidence becomes internal. Confidence built on control doesn't need to be loud. It's quiet, steady, and undeniable. You don't tell people you've changed. You demonstrate it. Every move becomes precise. Every silence becomes meaningful. You begin to understand the world's chaos without absorbing it. You stop mirroring instability. You respond with stability. This makes you mentally untouchable. Because no one can shake a mind trained in neutrality. The mental reset builds that neutrality. It trains your nervous system to remain steady under stress. You no longer crumble under unexpected pressure. You adapt faster because you've detached from outcome addiction. You care about control, not comfort. Comfort never built anyone elite. You become comfortable being uncomfortable. That's where transformation begins. Every discomfort is a test of your mental reconstruction. You stop running from the test. You welcome it. You start craving challenge. Challenge becomes your environment of growth. You thrive in tension because tension sharpens your mind. The average person avoids pressure. You learn to breathe through it. That's how you become composed when others crack. The mental reset isn't about perfection. It's about progress under control. You don't need it to be unbreakable. You just need to rebuild faster. Speed of recovery defines mental strength. You recover faster because you understand breakdowns are part of the cycle. Every time you fall, you re-enter the white room within your mind. Silence, analysis, adjustment. That's your process. That's how you maintain long-term composure. You're not chasing an emotional high. You're maintaining emotional balance. Balance doesn't mean no emotion. It means no control lost. You express, but you never collapse. That's the difference between trained calmness and fake composure. Fake composure breaks when tested. Trained calmness holds even in chaos. This calmness is now your foundation. You've rebuilt it from zero. Every distraction stripped, every illusion removed. The result is mental precision. You've become your own engineer. Every thought, reaction, and emotion now passes through awareness. That's mastery. That's control. That's evolution. The world around you hasn't changed, you have. And because you have, the world reacts differently to you. People sense your stability. They test it less because it doesn't waver. They respect it because they can't manipulate it. Calmness makes you unpredictable. Unpredictability gives you power. Power without ego is wisdom. That's the result of rebuilding correctly. You've rebuilt your perception, not your appearance. You no longer seek to look strong. You've become strong. Your energy no longer leaks through overreaction. It flows in precision, not chaos. The mental reset has restored your power. And now silence is no longer uncomfortable. It's your home. That's how you know you've completed the first phase. You've returned to zero and rebuilt clarity. The next phase will be harder, pain as a teacher. But you're ready for it, because rebuilding from zero gave you foundation. Foundation gives you composure. Composure gives you endurance, and endurance gives you dominance. You've proven to yourself that calmness is built, not born. The world won't understand this process. That's fine. You're not rebuilding for them. You're rebuilding for control. Keep detaching. Keep observing. Keep rewriting. This is the new you, designed, not accidental. The white room is no longer a place. It's your mindset. You've rebuilt from zero, and you're mentally reborn. This is the first foundation of your transformation. The modern white room begins here. Chapter 2: Pain as a Teacher. Pain is the most honest teacher you'll ever have. It never lies, never flatters, and never leaves you the same. Most people spend their lives running from pain, but that's why they stay weak. Pain exposes what comfort hides. It shows you exactly where your limits are and how much of your potential you've ignored. When you rebuild your mind, pain becomes part of the curriculum. You can't train resilience through theory. You train it through endurance. Every mental upgrade comes with discomfort. Pain is feedback that something inside you needs to evolve. The mistake is thinking pain is punishment. It's not. It's information. It's the system alerting you that an old pattern is breaking down. You can either resist that process or cooperate with it. The average person resists because they crave comfort. But the disciplined person leans into pain and studies it. They don't just survive pain, they extract lessons from it. That's what makes you stronger and sharper than most. The key is awareness, staying conscious while you suffer. When you stay aware, pain transforms from chaos to clarity. You begin to see patterns in your reactions. Every time you break, you learn what breaks you. And once you know that, pain loses its control. Pain thrives on confusion and fear. The moment you name it and understand it, it weakens. This is why avoidance makes pain worse. The longer you run, the stronger it grows. But when you confront it, you absorb its energy and turn it into growth. That's how the calm person builds emotional armor. Pain becomes weight, and you learn to lift it instead of running from it. The more weight you lift, the stronger your mind becomes. You start associating pain with progress, not suffering. That mindset shift changes everything. You stop saying, "Why me?" and start saying, "What now?" That's control. You no longer waste time in self-pity. Self-pity keeps you in emotional debt. Pain, when used correctly, pays that debt off. It teaches self-respect because you earn strength through hardship. You can't fake the lessons that pain gives you. Comfort creates illusions. Pain creates awareness. Every painful experience becomes a blueprint for resilience. When something hurts, don't distract yourself. Dissect it. Why does it hurt? What belief is being challenged? What expectation did you have that wasn't met? That's how you start mapping your emotional weak points. This map becomes your training ground. You return to those weak spots and strengthen them one by one. That's how Ayanokoji would approach pain. Not emotionally, but scientifically. Every failure, humiliation, and setback is a test subject. You gather data, analyze the cause, and rebuild the response. This transforms pain into precision. You stop fearing it because you understand it. Understanding replaces fear with power. That's the foundation of emotional dominance. You can't dominate emotions you refuse to experience. Avoidance creates dependency. The more you avoid pain, the more power it has over you. When you face it head-on, it starts obeying you. You begin to feel calm under discomfort. That calmness is your training reward. The more pain you face consciously, the more mental range you develop. You can handle chaos because you've practiced stability inside suffering. That's the modern warrior mindset. Calm in crisis, centered in chaos. You stop seeing pain as an interruption and start seeing it as an instructor. Pain will test your patience before it teaches you strength. It will strip away comfort before it builds endurance. It's not cruel, it's corrective. Every lesson begins with discomfort. The faster you accept that, the less you'll suffer unnecessarily. Pain teaches acceptance before control. You can't control what you haven't accepted. Acceptance isn't weakness, it's awareness. You accept reality so you can work with it, not against it. That's psychological efficiency. You stop wasting energy denying what is and start investing it into what can be changed. This is how you build quiet resilience. Pain stops being an emotional storm and becomes a training signal. Each signal demands attention, analysis, and adaptation. That's the loop of evolution. Pain, observation, adjustment, growth. The stronger you get, the faster you move through this loop. What once took weeks to recover from now takes days, even hours. That's measurable progress. Recovery speed. Pain no longer stops you, it refines you. Every obstacle becomes a feedback system for improvement. That's when pain turns into purpose. You start using discomfort to sharpen your focus. When others panic, you observe. When others complain, you adapt. When others freeze, you plan. You've trained your nervous system to remain logical under stress. That's the mark of elite emotional control. You can only achieve that through exposure, not avoidance. Pain tolerance isn't built by wishing. It's built by repetition. You face small pains daily until endurance becomes instinct. This is how you condition your mind for an unfair world. The world won't get softer, you must get sharper. The more pressure you face, the calmer you need to become. Pain teaches that reaction is weakness and awareness is power. You begin using every hardship as a study of human behavior, including your own. Why do people fold under stress? Why do some thrive while others collapse? The answer lies in mental conditioning. Most people never built pain tolerance, so pressure exposes them. You've trained it, so pressure reveals your composure instead. That's how you rise while others fall. Pain has now become your competitive advantage. It builds endurance, patience, and humility. Pain humbles you before it strengthens you. It reminds you that ego doesn't survive hardship. Ego wants to escape. Awareness wants to learn. Choose awareness. That's what turns breakdowns into breakthroughs. Pain exposes illusions that confidence alone can't destroy. It burns away weakness that pride hides. It turns emotional chaos into mental order. Once you stop running from it, pain becomes predictable. You start recognizing patterns before they escalate. You catch yourself in real time before reacting impulsively. That's the highest form of emotional intelligence, awareness under discomfort. It's not about smiling through pain, it's about thinking through it. Pain doesn't want positivity. It wants processing. Feel it fully, analyze it, then let it go deliberately. That's emotional mastery, not suppression. Suppression turns pain into trauma. Processing turns it into growth. Pain leaves when the lesson is learned. The faster you learn, the less you suffer. The slower you learn, the longer you repeat the same mistake. That's why awareness is the shortcut. Every time you face pain consciously, you evolve permanently. The person who learns from pain once will never fear it again. You develop quiet confidence in your ability to endure. Confidence built from endurance is unshakable. You can't fake that energy. It's earned through adversity. The world feels different when you no longer fear discomfort. Problems shrink in front of you because you've built perspective. Perspective is the byproduct of pain. It teaches proportion, what truly matters and what doesn't. Suddenly, small inconveniences no longer control you. You stop wasting emotion on irrelevant things. Your focus sharpens because pain trained it to prioritize. You begin living with a calm urgency. Focused, grounded, efficient. You stop dramatizing challenges because you've seen worse and survived. That's psychological immunity. Pain built your immunity to chaos. The same situations that break others now sharpen you. You've turned pain into a mental workout. Each struggle becomes a set, each recovery a rep. You're building mental muscle through controlled suffering. You can now use that muscle to remain stable when others collapse. Pain has taught you that the mind adapts faster than the body. If you can endure emotionally, you can endure physically. That's why elite mental control always precedes physical excellence. You've now crossed that bridge, from pain to awareness to control. But don't get comfortable. Pain isn't gone, it's evolved. The next level of pain is subtle. Boredom, frustration, uncertainty. These silent pains destroy focus faster than visible ones. You'll need to train for them too. But first, reflect on how far you've come. The person who once feared pain now studies it. You've reversed the power dynamic. You no longer ask for an easy life. You ask for the strength to handle a hard one. That's elite mentality. You've learned that control is forged through suffering, not theory. The next time pain arrives, you'll recognize it immediately. You won't react emotionally. You'll observe strategically. You'll welcome it because it means growth is near. Pain no longer defines you. It refines you. That's the transformation most people never experience. They keep running from lessons that could make them unstoppable. But you've stayed, you've studied, you've endured. You've learned that progress requires pain the same way fire requires heat. There's no growth without friction. There's no discipline without discomfort. You're no longer afraid of the burn. You've built resistance to it. Pain becomes your compass now. When something hurts, you know it's pointing to weakness. And wherever there's weakness, there's potential to grow. That's how you turn adversity into strategy. Every painful emotion becomes an opportunity for refinement. Every difficult person becomes training for control. Every loss becomes data for your next move. Pain has now turned you analytical, not emotional. You've detached from chaos and reconnected with structure. You're no longer breaking from impact. You're bending with precision. That's adaptability, a skill built only through exposure to pain. You now understand that resistance builds endurance. You can't evolve without tension. Tension creates pressure. Pressure creates transformation. Transformation creates superiority of mind. You've stepped into a level where pain no longer defines you negatively. It defines your standard of strength. People will see your calmness and call it coldness, but they don't understand that pain taught you emotional economy. You don't waste emotion anymore. You invest it. You invested in growth, purpose, and precision. You've learned to channel pain instead of leaking it. That's mastery in motion. The next time life hits you, you'll thank it. Because every hit now has a purpose. You've upgraded your perspective from victim to student. Pain is now part of your education, not your destruction. You no longer ask, why me? But, what can I learn? That question turns pain into progress, and progress keeps you calm under any storm. You've stopped seeking easy paths because you've seen their results. Easy paths create fragile minds. Hard paths create composed ones. You've chosen composure. You now understand why Ayanokoji thrives under pressure. Pain trained his logic. Logic born from suffering is indestructible. It's earned, not given. You're earning yours now. Every painful experience is adding another layer of armor to your psyche. That armor doesn't make you emotionless. It makes you stable. You feel everything, but nothing controls you. That's the ultimate balance. You've become emotionally fluent. You can read pain without reacting to it. You can use it without fearing it. Pain becomes the most honest feedback in your life. It never flatters. It never lies. It simply reveals, and every revelation makes you better. You start seeing pain not as punishment, but purification. It burns away the unnecessary, leaving only truth. The truth is simple. Comfort hides weakness, pain reveals strength. You've stopped hiding. You've started refining. This is what separates you from the masses. Most people want control but reject the discomfort it demands. You've accepted both. That's why you'll last longer, adapt faster, and rise higher. Pain has become part of your system now. It's integrated into your mindset like oxygen into blood. You don't avoid it, you use it for endurance. That's your edge in an unfair world. You've built tolerance to chaos. You can function under pressure when others freeze. That makes you dangerous, calm and calculating under distress. Pain taught you composure the hard way. You earned calmness by bleeding for it mentally. That calmness now radiates through everything you do. It's the aura of someone who's seen storms and stayed standing. That's what mastery feels like. Quiet, steady, undeniable. Pain no longer owns you, you own it. And ownership turns suffering into strength. This chapter of your transformation is complete. You've learned to convert pain into progress. You've turned reaction into reflection. You've built calmness through controlled suffering. But the next phase demands something harder, solitude. Because isolation isn't loneliness, it's the next evolution of control. You've mastered pain, now you must master silence. The white room doesn't just teach through pain, it teaches through absence. Absence of distraction, absence of validation, absence of noise. Isolation will now reveal what pain couldn't, your true mind without interference. That's the next challenge. Isolation will show you if your discipline is internal or borrowed, if your calmness is real or performative, if your peace is stable or situational. That's why it's the next level of the white room. The lessons get quieter, but deeper. You'll learn to create power in silence, not just survive it. Because in the end, solitude is where mastery is finalized. That's where real transformation takes shape. Unseen, unheard, but undeniable. Pain has prepared you for it. The next phase won't break you, it will refine you even more. Because now you understand the value of struggle. You no longer avoid lessons, you seek them. That's evolution in its purest form. Pain gave you awareness. Awareness will now meet silence. That combination creates mastery, and mastery builds peace. The type of peace no one can disturb because it was earned, not gifted. The kind of peace that doesn't need noise to prove its strength. That's where you're heading. You've passed the test of pain. Now prepare for the test of isolation. Pain made you grounded. Solitude will make you unshakable. Because once you can stay calm alone, you can stay calm anywhere. That's the next transformation of your mind. You're no longer a victim of discomfort. You're the architect of control. The modern white room doesn't destroy you, it rebuilds you. And pain was your first instructor. It did its job perfectly. Now it's time to advance to the next one. Pain taught you endurance. Isolation will teach you precision. Together, they form unbreakable composure. You've completed the second phase of transformation. Pain is no longer your enemy. It's your mentor. The next lesson begins in silence. Prepare your mind to enter solitude with awareness. That's where power multiplies. Pain built your resilience. Silence will build your dominance. You've evolved from chaos into calm. The process continues. Chapter 2 ends here. The white room awaits your next lesson. Enter isolation and continue rebuilding. Chapter 3: Isolation and Focus Training. Isolation is not punishment. It is the purest environment for clarity. When you remove external noise, the mind starts revealing what truly matters. Most people fear being alone because they fear meeting themselves. But that fear is exactly why isolation is powerful. It forces confrontation with your real thoughts. In isolation, you learn who you are without influence. You stop chasing validation and start building foundation. Ayanokoji's calm doesn't come from confidence. It comes from control born through solitude. He trained in silence until chaos felt slow. You can do the same by controlling your environment. Start small by cutting background noise. No music, no distractions, just your thoughts and work. It feels uncomfortable because your mind craves stimulation. That discomfort is withdrawal from dependency on noise. The first phase of isolation training is mental detox. You realize how much external input dominates your thinking. Most people never experience a clean mental slate. They drown their silence with endless scrolling. But in silence, you start observing how thoughts move. You notice triggers, impulses, and distractions. You begin to understand what controls you. Isolation makes those patterns visible. Once you see them, you can start breaking them. The second phase is focus conditioning. Set specific times to work without interruption. Even 30 minutes of deep, undistracted focus builds power. The key is to guard those sessions like survival time. Every interruption weakens mental sharpness. The brain trains itself based on repetition. If you constantly switch tasks, you train yourself to be unfocused. But if you guard focus blocks, you rewire your attention span. This becomes the beginning of your internal discipline. Isolation isn't about cutting people, it's about filtering influence. The fewer external opinions you absorb, the clearer your judgment becomes. Most people don't have original thoughts. They echo what they consume daily. To become elite, you must think independently. That means creating a mental firewall. Guard your mind like a fortress. Not every conversation deserves your energy. Not every problem deserves your reaction. This selective response is part of focus training. You learn to choose what deserves attention. Attention is your most valuable currency. Every moment you waste, you lose momentum. The strongest minds are built in silence. Noise is where average minds live. In solitude, your ideas evolve. You refine your thoughts without outside judgment. That refinement process builds depth. You learn to articulate what you actually believe. You start forming strategies based on reason, not impulse. That's when calmness becomes natural. It's not forced composure. It's the byproduct of focus. Solitude also improves emotional stability. The fewer emotional triggers around you, the more control you have. In isolation, you stop reacting instantly. You analyze before responding. You detach before deciding. That mental gap between stimulus and response is everything. It's where intelligence operates. People who lack solitude lose that gap. They become reactive, emotional, and erratic. They mirror chaos instead of mastering it. Ayanokoji's composure isn't robotic. It's trained emotional distance. He doesn't suppress feelings, he studies them. You must learn the same awareness. Journal during your isolation periods. Observe your mental habits objectively. Identify which thoughts drain your focus. Eliminate them gradually through awareness. Awareness is the first step to control. Control is the foundation of calmness. Calmness creates precision. Precision builds power. When you can focus deeply, you achieve more with less effort. Your execution becomes surgical. You stop wasting energy on unimportant motion. That's the hidden benefit of isolation, energy management. Focused energy compounds, scattered energy evaporates. The modern world rewards distraction. Every notification hijacks your dopamine system. To master focus, you must break that hijacking. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Schedule when you check messages. The more control you have over input, the calmer you stay. Isolation isn't just physical, it's digital too. Build a digital white room, a clean mental environment, no chaos, no comparison, no noise. Use that space for training your attention. Practice doing one thing with full presence. That presence is what separates masters from amateurs. When you're present, distractions fade. The world feels slower. You see details others miss. That awareness creates an edge in everything you do. It's how strategic thinkers stay ahead. Focus sharpens perception. Perception drives smart action. Smart action builds momentum. Momentum sustains progress. In isolation, you can compound that loop daily. The more silent your environment, the faster your growth. Isolation removes noise, routine adds order. Combine both, and you become unstoppable. You'll start craving solitude over chaos. Not because you hate people, but because you love peace. Peace is where clarity lives, and clarity leads to dominance. Focus training requires patience. You won't master it in a week, but every silent hour you invest builds resilience. You'll notice emotional balance improving. You'll start feeling in control again. Because control comes from focus. When your mind can hold attention, your life aligns. You execute better, decide faster, and worry less. Distraction breeds anxiety. Focus breeds confidence. Most anxiety comes from fragmented attention. You're never fully here or there. Focus training repairs that fragmentation. It rebuilds mental stability from the core. Isolation helps you declutter thoughts. Focus organizes them into action. Together, they create mental order. That order becomes your strength. The chaotic fail because they never train attention. You succeed because you build it consciously. Isolation is your gym for the mind. Every silent hour is a rep. Every focused task is a set. Every distraction resisted is progress. You won't feel results immediately, but over time your attention span expands. You'll notice you can work longer. You'll feel less dependent on stimulation. That's when real growth begins. Focus becomes effortless. Distraction becomes boring. And calmness becomes automatic. You'll walk through chaos without reaction. You'll stay centered when others spiral. That's the goal of isolation and focus training. To be unshaken in a noisy world. To operate like still water under pressure. You'll realize isolation isn't loneliness. It's strategic retreat. It's building energy for your return. Use solitude to plan your next move. Map out steps without external influence. Think in silence. Execute in noise. This is the rhythm of mastery. When you train your mind this way, you stop overreacting. You gain a natural stillness. Stillness allows better perception. Perception leads to stronger execution. You'll become detached yet aware. Calm yet deadly. The kind of presence that silences rooms. That comes from trained focus. And trained focus comes from isolation. There's no shortcut. The world will tempt you with noise constantly. Every distraction is a test. Each time you resist, you level up. Each time you give in, you reset progress. So guard your attention with intent. You don't owe constant availability to anyone. You owe mastery to yourself. Treat focus as sacred, because it is. The calmest people are often the most focused. They move slow but execute fast. They observe longer but strike cleaner. Focus lets you wait for the right timing. Without it, you chase impulses. Focus is the foundation of strategy, and strategy wins over speed. When you combine focus with patience, you become unbeatable, because nothing can throw you off balance. You see distractions for what they are, traps. You learn to operate above noise. Focus also builds consistency, and consistency compounds into dominance. You stop being swayed by emotions. You start being driven by principles. That's how elite thinkers operate. Solitude isn't escape, it's evolution. It's how you build the next version of yourself. The version that doesn't break under stress. The version that thrives under chaos. You can't fake that kind of calm. It's earned through countless silent hours. The world won't see those hours, but they'll see the result. They'll call it natural composure, but you'll know it's trained focus. The discipline to remain still when others react. The patience to outweigh emotional storms. The awareness to choose silence over noise. That's true control. That's true peace. Focus training changes your energy. People will feel your calm before you speak. They'll sense presence. That's the aura of attention. It can't be faked. It can only be earned. Build it in silence. Guard it like treasure. Because attention is the currency of power. Spend it wisely. Every time you focus deeply, you reclaim your mind. Every time you resist noise, you strengthen it. You'll start craving simplicity. You'll design your environment for clarity. Clean desk, minimal input, deep work. That's your new ecosystem. The mind mirrors its environment, so keep your space ordered. Isolation isn't emptiness, it's structure. When structure grows, anxiety fades. That's why solitude feels peaceful after training. It becomes home for your mind. The noise outside becomes irrelevant, because your internal focus is unbreakable. This is mental minimalism. Remove what doesn't matter. Protect what does. Focus is your weapon. Solitude is your armor. Calmness is your stance. In that combination, you are untouchable. You'll execute with silence. You'll win without noise. You'll control time through attention, because focus slows perception. When time feels slow, control feels easy. And when control feels easy, confidence grows. Not fake confidence, real composure. The kind built through focus and patience. This is the essence of the modern white room. A place in your mind that stays calm, no matter how loud the world gets. It's not physical, it's psychological. You can enter at any time you detach. When you block distractions and breathe in silence, you enter training mode. Every moment in solitude refines clarity. Every focused action sharpens control. That's how you rebuild calmness from the core. The mind becomes a weapon, not a weakness. You learn to observe, not react. To decide, not rush. To dominate quietly. That's what isolation and focus training are truly for. To make you powerful in stillness, strategic in silence, dangerous in calm. Because chaos can't shake a focused mind. A focused mind bends chaos to its will. That's the endgame of focus mastery. To operate without emotion when others panic. To think clearly when others freeze. To act precisely when others flinch. That edge defines the elite. That edge is built here, in isolation. The white room isn't a prison, it's your sanctuary. A mental lab for testing focus and restraint. It's where you evolve above emotion. Every great strategist understands this. Silence before execution. Calm before impact. Stillness before dominance. You can't fake that rhythm. You must train it. Isolation gives you the space to do so. Focus gives you the strength to maintain it. Together, they create composure under fire. You become the eye in the storm. Everything can fall apart around you, but you remain stable. That's the essence of control. That's the essence of power. Isolation teaches you who you are. Focus shows you what you can become. Train both and you'll never fear chaos again. You'll operate with unshakable calm. You'll move like still water. You'll think like a strategist. And you'll live like you built your own white room. Chapter 4: Learning to think, not react. The difference between calm and chaos starts in a single second. It's the second between what happens and how you respond. Most people waste that second reacting emotionally. You're going to use it to think strategically. That's how you gain control over every situation. Reacting is easy. Thinking takes discipline. Emotion always arrives first. Logic comes later. Your job is to delay action until logic catches up. That's what separates amateurs from masters. Ayanokoji doesn't react to chaos because he sees it as data. Every event is just information. Every person's outburst is just a pattern. He processes before responding. You must train that same habit. The first rule of thinking is to observe without judgment. When you judge too soon, emotion clouds accuracy. Detachment doesn't mean apathy. It means viewing events from a higher frame, like stepping outside the scene and watching from above. That mental distance is where clarity lives. The calm thinker never loses sight of the full picture. Emotion narrows vision, logic widens it. So when something triggers you, slow down. Pause for 2 seconds. Take a deep breath. Let the emotion pass through before you decide. This simple act rewires your brain. You start valuing clarity over reaction. The mind learns that calm equals strength. When others explode, you analyze. When others panic, you plan. That's how you silently take control. Every chaotic moment has 2 levels. The surface level is emotion. The deeper level is opportunity. But you can't see opportunity if you're busy reacting. You see only threat. That's why calm thinkers always seem one step ahead. They see what emotion blinds others to. Every argument, every failure, every setback hides data. Thinking means decoding that data. Asking questions instead of giving reactions. What's really happening here? What's their motive? What do they want me to do next? Every calm analysis breaks emotional momentum. People lose power over you when you stop reacting, because reaction is control given away. Thinking is control reclaimed. You can test this in daily life. Next time someone tries to provoke you, say nothing. Just watch their reaction. You'll see confusion. because silence breaks their script. They expected emotion, not stillness. This is psychological warfare at its simplest. Calmness disrupts chaos. Every manipulator depends on your reaction. They feed on emotional predictability. When you refuse to react, their influence dies. That's how Ayanokoji dismantles power dynamics. By staying unreadable. Thinking keeps you unreadable. Emotional people broadcast their weaknesses. Calm people conceal them. That concealment is strategic advantage. You don't owe people your emotions. You owe yourself your clarity. Start practicing mental detachment every day. Whenever emotion spikes, label it. This is anger. This is fear. This is frustration. Labeling activates logic. You separate yourself from the emotion. Once labeled, it loses power. This is cognitive control in real time. It's not about suppressing emotion. It's about observing without obeying it. Obedience to emotion is slavery. Observation of emotion is mastery. Calm thinkers train this awareness constantly. They build emotional space like muscle. Each pause between feeling and action is a rep. The more reps you do, the stronger your self-control becomes. Thinking under pressure requires conditioning. You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your training. So train to think when your emotions want to react. When someone insults you, analyze intent. When failure hits, analyze process. Replace emotional words with rational questions. It sounds robotic at first, but it's strategic rewiring. You're teaching your brain to prioritize logic. Calmness is not passive. It's active control. It's conscious power management. You decide when to speak, when to move, when to engage. This decision-making window is your edge. The longer you hold it, the smarter your choices become. People who react instantly lose control. People who think first command the outcome. That's why patience feels powerful. Because waiting is thinking time. Every second you wait, others reveal more. Their tone, emotion, words, all data. You can't collect that data if you're busy defending yourself. Calmness is defense through awareness. This is not weakness, it's tactical restraint. Restraint is often misread as inaction, but in reality it's controlled timing. You act when the probability of success is highest. You conserve energy until impact matters. That's what emotional people can't do. They burn energy reacting to every spark. You burn none until it counts. That's why your presence grows intimidating. People sense your patience. They feel your stillness. It unsettles them because it's rare. Everyone else mirrors emotion. You mirror nothing. That's real psychological dominance. You're training yourself to think in layers. The top layer, what's happening. The second layer, what it means. The third layer, what to do about it. Emotional people stop at the first layer. Thinkers operate on all three. That's why they appear calm. They're calculating. Thinking gives you time. Time gives you control. Control gives you leverage. Leverage gives you peace. That's the chain of power. Every link starts with thinking before reacting. You can test this even in small frustrations. When your plans fail, observe your reaction. Ask, what can I learn from this? That question converts emotion into insight. Suddenly, setbacks feel like feedback, and feedback strengthens focus. Most people waste emotional energy resisting reality. Thinking redirects that energy into understanding it. Understanding is what gives you control over the game. You can't change what you don't understand. You can't understand what you instantly reject. Calm thinkers embrace discomfort as data. They dissect frustration instead of fleeing it. That's why nothing surprises them. They've already processed every possible reaction internally. The key to mastery is preparation. You prepare by mentally rehearsing pressure. Visualize someone yelling at you. Visualize failure, loss, rejection. Now visualize yourself staying still, breathing slow, thinking through your options. That's how you program composure, through mental simulation. The brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined stress, so you can train calmness anywhere. Think before reacting in your mind until it becomes instinct. Eventually, pressure feels slower. Emotion feels distant. You start observing life like a chessboard. Every move has reason. Every mistake has a pattern. You start anticipating instead of reacting. That's how strategic thinkers move ahead, not by guessing, but by observing reactions over time. People are predictable once you stop being emotional. Emotion blinds you to patterns. Calmness reveals them. That's why control begins internally. Before you dominate the external world, you must master the internal one. That means mastering delay. The delay between impulse and action. The delay between pressure and choice. That small delay determines long-term dominance. It's where you win the mental war. Thinking also protects energy. Every reaction costs attention. Every thought buys it back, so think like an investor. Don't spend energy emotionally, invest it strategically. Choose which thoughts deserve fuel, the rest, ignore. This energy control builds calm confidence. You stop over-explaining. You stop defending. You simply respond when it matters. Thinking conserves presence. Presence commands respect, because calmness is rare currency in chaos. And people sense when someone has it. They gravitate toward calm leaders. They trust thinkers, not reactors. That's why the best tacticians always appear emotionless. Not because they don't feel, but because they manage it. You must do the same. Manage emotion like a resource. Don't let it leak out through reaction. Let it power your analysis. This shift rewires your emotional blueprint. You stop being a victim of feeling. You become its strategist. You use emotion for understanding, not decision-making. That's high-level thinking. It's not natural. It's trained. But once learned, it stays forever. You'll move through chaos with precision. You'll operate like a strategist among impulsive players. People will think you're detached, but you'll just be disciplined. Thinking builds distance. Distance builds dominance. That's the silent hierarchy of composure. The one who reacts least controls the most. So next time you feel heat rise, pause, ask questions, think, observe, choose your next move like a chess master. Every calm response disarms tension. Every emotional outburst fuels it. The world runs on reaction. Break that cycle and you instantly stand out. Calm thinkers aren't slower, they're sharper. Because they act with clarity, not noise. And clarity cuts through chaos. That's how you win in an unfair world. Not by being louder, but by being quieter, smarter, calmer. You stop being predictable. Predictability is emotional slavery. Calmness is tactical unpredictability. Every time you stay silent, you force others to reveal more. Every second you think, you gather leverage. Every pause you take, you build power. This is the art of mental restraint. Restraint is the foundation of control. Control is the foundation of calmness. Calmness is the foundation of strategy. And strategy is how you survive the game. This mindset works anywhere. Relationships, business, conflict. The same law applies. Don't react, think. The person who stays calm always wins the negotiation, because they see the full board before moving. You can train this in small interactions daily. Let people finish talking before replying. Let silence do the work. You'll notice they reveal more than they intended. Because people fear silence. You'll learn to use it as a tool. Calmness becomes communication. It says, I'm in control. Thinking becomes power language. It shows confidence without volume. You won't need to prove yourself anymore. Your composure will speak louder. People respect what they can't read. And they can't read calm thinkers. That's your invisible advantage. Thinking turns chaos into opportunity. It converts anger into insight. It transforms fear into focus. That's alchemy of the mind. You turn emotional energy into mental strength. That's how you rebuild control. It's not about ignoring emotion. It's about mastering its function. Emotion gives color to life, but logic gives direction. You need both, but in order. Think first, feel after, because feelings change, but logic endures. Every choice made in calmness compounds. Every reaction made in chaos decays. Over time, calm thinkers rise. Emotional reactors fall. You choose which side you train for. If you want long-term power, choose calmness. Practice the pause. Turn reaction into reflection. Replace impulse with intention. Every decision becomes deliberate. Every outcome becomes predictable. This is the discipline of mental control. You don't just survive pressure. You navigate it like a strategist. You remain silent when others panic. You think when others react. And that's how you win without chaos. Chapter 5: Controlling Emotions Under Pressure. Pressure reveals the truth about who you are. When everything feels chaotic, your emotions try to take over. That's when most people lose control and panic. But you can train your mind to stay calm when everything around you burns. Emotional control isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about mastering the moment before those feelings control you. Most people react before they think. They let fear, anger, or frustration decide their next move. But under pressure, reacting is the same as losing. You have to delay that reaction until logic returns. The key is awareness. You must catch yourself the instant your emotions start rising. That moment of awareness separates you from the chaos. Think of it as pressing pause when everyone else hits fast forward. You stop time in your mind for a few seconds. You create a mental gap between stimulus and response. That gap is where composure is built. It's not natural. It's trained through repetition and discomfort. Every time you face pressure, you're handed a chance to strengthen that gap. The first step is observation. When you feel anger building, don't fight it. Simply notice it. Label it. I feel angry. That sentence alone separates your identity from the emotion. You are not your anger. You are the observer behind it. When you view emotions as signals instead of commands, they lose control over you. Emotions exist to inform, not to rule. Fear tells you there's potential danger. Anger tells you there's perceived injustice. Sadness tells you something meaningful changed. But once you've received the signal, you don't need to obey it. You decide what to do next. That's the essence of control. Emotional control doesn't come from being emotionless. It comes from being deliberate. You choose the emotion that serves the situation best. Pressure is the perfect environment to train this. Under pressure, your instincts scream louder. But if you can silence them, even for 3 seconds, logic reappears. 3 seconds can be the difference between regret and precision. In those seconds, your breathing becomes your weapon. Breathing dictates your state faster than thoughts do. When your breath quickens, your mind follows. When your breath slows, your body signals safety. Controlled breathing is controlled thinking. That's why Ayanokoji's calmness feels unnatural to others. It's not that he doesn't feel pressure. He just mastered the art of not letting it dictate his actions. Every stressful moment is a test of that art. People panic because they focus on the outcome, not the process. You, however, must shift your focus to control inputs, not results. When you focus on results, emotions spike. When you focus on process, your body stabilizes. Control is regained through structure. Create small actions that anchor you in the present. Something as simple as adjusting your posture can reset your emotional state. Straighten your back, look up, and breathe. You're telling your brain, I'm in control now. Your body obeys that message. Your emotions follow the body's lead. This is why elite performers focus on physical control under stress. It's not about faking calmness. It's about commanding the nervous system to obey reason. Under pressure, physiology and psychology merge. You can't control one without the other. You need alignment. Your breathing, your posture, your tone of thought. All must signal stability. When your body learns that you won't crumble, your mind relaxes. You start to feel composed even when things go wrong. That's when people notice something different about you. They feel your calmness but can't understand it. That confusion gives you an edge. You become unpredictable because emotion no longer dictates your choices. Calmness under pressure becomes a weapon. You can think while others react. You can observe while others collapse. You can move when others freeze. This detachment doesn't make you robotic. It makes you effective. Emotionally intelligent but strategically detached. You don't allow temporary feelings to make permanent decisions. When you master this, you move differently in life. Situations that break others simply sharpen you, because pressure is no longer the enemy. It's your training ground. Every argument, every crisis, every setback, all become practice sessions. You begin to rewire your nervous system. Pressure stops triggering panic, it triggers focus. It becomes a familiar state, not a threat. This is how elite calmness is built. You start to crave high-pressure moments because they refine your control. That mindset rewires your identity. You stop saying, I can't handle this. You start saying, let's see how calm I can stay this time. That's power. But emotional control also requires honesty. You can't fake composure if you're mentally fragile. You must confront your weaknesses directly. If something triggers you often, that's not random. It's data. It shows you where you still lack internal mastery. Use that data to train. Each trigger becomes a lesson. Each emotional reaction reveals a blind spot. The more you study your reactions, the more control you gain. This is psychological conditioning. You're teaching your mind to pause before chaos takes over. But you must apply it in real life, not theory. Start small. Practice calmness in everyday tension. When someone irritates you, don't reply immediately. Wait 5 seconds. Observe the feeling rise and fade. You'll realize how little power that emotion truly had. Extend that delay over time. 5 seconds can become 10. 10 becomes 30. Soon, Emotions appear and disappear without pulling you into reaction. That's how mental resilience grows. Pressure then becomes fuel, not fear. Because every time you handle it better, your confidence expands. You realize you're unshakable. You realize no situation can truly own you. This self-trust makes you unstoppable. You stop needing the world to be calm for you to stay calm. You carry calmness inside. That's the highest form of strength. Emotional control is emotional freedom. You're no longer a slave to the moment, you're its master. But there's another layer, self-respect. When you can't control your emotions, you lose respect for yourself. Every outburst chips away at your inner authority. You feel guilty afterward because you know you lost control. That guilt turns into self-doubt. The cycle repeats. To rebuild respect, you must earn it back through discipline. You must prove to yourself that you can stay composed under stress. Each calm response restores confidence. Each controlled reaction rebuilds dignity. That's why restraint feels powerful. It's a reminder that you command yourself. People mistake calmness for weakness, but in truth, it's dominance. Because you're in control of the only thing that truly matters. Your inner state. When you're emotionally stable, you can read others clearly. You notice their tension before they speak. You sense their fear before they admit it. This awareness gives you leverage. In negotiation, leadership, or conflict, calmness always wins. Because people instinctively trust the one who isn't shaken. Your calmness becomes their anchor. That's influence at its purest form. But to maintain this influence, you must constantly refine your control. You'll face moments where you slip. You'll say something impulsive. You'll feel regret. That's normal. What matters is recovery speed. The faster you regain composure, the stronger your training becomes. Don't chase perfection. Chase recovery. Train your comeback speed. Calmness isn't about never losing control. It's about how fast you get it back. That's emotional agility. Pressure doesn't destroy you, rigidity does. Flexibility keeps you powerful. Learn to pivot emotionally. One moment of frustration doesn't have to define the rest of your day. Reset quickly. Return to focus. Move forward. Each quick reset builds emotional stamina. That's how warriors are built mentally. Calm minds under chaos. But don't confuse calmness with passivity. Staying calm doesn't mean staying still. It means moving intelligently. You can act decisively and remain emotionally balanced. That's composure in motion. You learn to calculate in silence. You learn to speak only when it adds precision. You learn that most emotions are noise. Distractions disguised as urgency. When you remove the noise, decisions become clear. Emotional control creates mental clarity. Clarity leads to better strategy. Strategy leads to victory. That's why composure is the foundation of all elite performance. Whether in competition, relationships, or life decisions, the calmest mind wins. When everyone else is drowning in emotion, you stay above the waterline. You become the steady force people rely on. But this level of control requires solitude. You must spend time with your emotions to understand them. Most people avoid silence because it exposes their chaos. You must confront that chaos directly. Sit in silence until it stops scaring you. Observe your inner noise. Let it speak. Let it fade. What remains afterward is true composure. It's not fake calmness. It's earned peace. The kind that doesn't break under pressure. Once you master that, pressure loses its edge. You start performing better in every area of life. Conversations become easier. Decisions become clearer. Crises become manageable. Because you've built emotional armor. And not through suppression, through understanding. You've studied your emotions like data, not enemies. You've trained them to serve your goals. That's emotional alchemy, turning chaos into precision, turning impulse into mastery. That's the Ayanokoji mindset in practice. It's not about faking coldness. It's about choosing calmness as your base state. Even when things go wrong, you default to balance. That's power people can't understand until they see it. But by then, it's too late. You've already won. The one who controls emotion controls the environment. The one who controls the environment controls outcomes. That's the chain of dominance. It all starts with you. The war isn't against others. It's against your own reactions. The moment you master that war, you stop losing. You stop fearing failure. Because nothing external can unbalance you anymore. You've become your own stabilizer. Your mind becomes your safe house. No external chaos can enter without your permission. That's what true strength looks like. Quiet, steady, deliberate. But remember, emotional control isn't static. You must practice it daily, because pressure is always evolving. Each stage of life brings new triggers. You must adapt your composure to match them. Growth requires constant recalibration. What kept you calm last year might not be enough this year. Keep testing yourself. Seek controlled pressure intentionally. Speak in front of crowds. Compete in challenges. Take on responsibilities that scare you. You can't build composure in comfort. You build it in fire. So walk into the fire with awareness. Feel the emotions rise, breathe through them, execute regardless. That's training. The more you do it, the more natural composure becomes. Eventually, it stops being something you try to do. It becomes who you are. Calm under fire, sharp under chaos, stable when everyone else breaks. That's when you've rebuilt yourself into someone unshakable. Someone who thrives in unpredictability. Someone immune to panic. That's what the White Room was always about. Stability in madness. A place where emotion loses power and reason becomes instinct. You're recreating that mental environment within yourself. That's what modern mental training truly is. Learning to stay composed while reality tests every part of you. Calm doesn't mean safe. Calm means dangerous in control. That's the state you're aiming for. Not numbness. Awareness without panic. Precision without emotion. Clarity without comfort. That's the mindset of the elite. It's what separates thinkers from reactors. And once you've trained that level of control, life becomes a chessboard. You stop being a piece. You become the player. Every situation becomes a move, not a threat. You stop surviving pressure and start using it. You stop resisting emotion and start directing it. That's mental dominance. That's what this chapter is training you to become. Calm, focused, tactical, untouchable under pressure. Remember this truth: the calmest person always wins. Because calmness isn't the absence of emotion. It's the presence of control, and control is power, always.